Oh, it says live.
Okay, for you it does. For me it doesn't. We are live then. Say hello to everybody.
Hi, everyone. We are live.
Just double checking on something. Make sure that everybody can see us.
The difference in Toronto, in California.
Yeah, well, today was the first day we have not had record-breaking minus a million temps.
Wow, what do all those little furry creatures do?
That's all I ever thought about. That's all I ever thought about. So it seems to be that it's live and we're doing well, but of course there's always a little bit of a delay when we do this. So we've already started recording. People are going to start watching us in a few minutes, so we might as well just get going.
Awesome. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Kim and Amaya and everyone, thank you.
So we're really, really grateful that everybody could join us here today. We try really hard to communicate with all of you through the various social feeds and listen to your ideas and understand what you're most passionate about. And in the end, it helps us understand where we need to go, because it's not just about Ian, it's about all of you, and you help direct a lot of our programs and services and help us formulate ideas that end up making great strides for ISF. So first and foremost, we can't thank you enough for supporting us, not only with your dollars, but with your love and your support through social media, and you're sharing your skill set. There are so many volunteers and so many crews out there that are loaded with unbelievable skills, and we just cannot thank you enough for choosing to share your skills and your time with us. I'm sure you can agree with that, Ian.
I couldn't agree. I could not agree any more if I tried.
Yeah.
One thing I will say this really quickly, you know, last night when I was at the Nobel Awards, and I was so grateful that we got to take 2 of those home, was that I was there as ISF, and it was for the great groups, the great many groups of people that make up ISF, and all those skill sets, which is kind of incredible. When I tell people this, and I learned this from Kim a great deal, which is that when you fuse talents and passions, then you get purpose. And it's all these incredible skill sets coming together with so much passion that's made this possible. And last night I was saying this to people, and I was watching it, and these are, you know, incredibly smart people, but I was watching it compute in their head. And that's one of the things that people truly admire and are so inspired by ISF, is that as a result of your talents and passions, this purpose of this organization is spanning not only just time, but incredible amounts of space on this planet.
I agree. And I think that that's predominantly what makes ISF as special and as unique as it is, and why I like being here so much. So I guess we're going to start with the questions. We got so many questions.
These are great questions, by the way.
From all of you, and we're going to try to get to all of you.
Yes.
And in order to do so, there were a lot of very similar questions. So I tried my very best to make sure that the similar ones were kind of amalgamated so that we could get to everybody, because I really wanted to make sure that we got to everybody. So this first question is one of those amalgamated from so many of you asking about the land and the sanctuary and our property in Louisiana. So I'm going to read this question off, and Sir Summerholder is going to respond for us. Can you update us on the farm, and what will the next steps be? Can you tell us about the things that go on there other than the animal sanctuary? And I'd like to know if Ian has ever thought of an educational center for children, teens, and to learn about ISF, all the things that ISF stands for. It's a big question. So if you want to maybe start with an update, I can reread those points to you if you need.
Absolutely, thank you. Yes, there are multi levels to that question, and I will say that, excuse me. Um, yes, we are announcing, and we are so happy to say that we have signed the papers on this land. Woo! And what an incredible feat that was. This team went through a lot, and it's an incredible feeling. It's been 18 months in the making, and we've signed the papers, and it's ours. And as promised, we want to promote the fact that this is happening, but we're also going to be creating more of a living, breathing space where everything that ISF represents can have a space to grow and live, from creatures to healthy agriculture to education to youth development. And so ultimately, if you can imagine, and this is the greatest, coolest word ever, it's an epicentarium, right? An epicentarium where all the love and commitment that we all share has a home base. And so that is an amazing thing to actually be able to come out of my mouth at this point, because I've never been able to say it publicly. You guys are the first people hearing it. The epicentarium, this property, will encompass all of those things. So absolutely, have I thought about it? Kim, we've thought, gosh, I can't tell you the endless amounts of conversations that we've talked about having a place for young people and teens to develop and grow in an educational sense, but also in a practical sense. And it's not just sort of, I think in terms of education now, we have to step out of what the boxes in which we've been teaching our young people and start thinking out of the box. And again, really quickly, I'll just say this. Last night when I was up there receiving this Nobel Award, which actually is for ISF, I said to everyone, and I calmed myself for a second because I was really excited, and I said, if it's Hollywood, but everyone that was there wanted to be there, and they were there for a reason. And I said, everyone in this room, I said, if you can just leave here with one thing only, if you only hear one sentence come out of my mouth, is that if everyone in this room can grasp the concept that if we can educate and empower this next generation and future generations, but particularly starting with this next generation, if we can empower them with reverence, gratitude, and compassion, we can literally change the course of history. And I think they got it because they clapped, or maybe they just felt bad for me. But
no, I think probably everybody in that room got it. You would hope. You would hope. So I think that you touched all points in that question. So another question came in from Marie, and she says, you inspire so many people around the world to get involved with many things, such as helping animals in need, saving the planet, going green. How do we, as your supporters, inspire you?
Well, you're not even my supporters. We are supporting each other. I mean, I'm inspired. Kim and I, we talk about this at length, and Maya, I think you can say the same thing. I mean, I lie awake at night, literally, with so much inspiration, because you guys, imagine the flood of information and inspiration coming from you guys as ISF and the world. Imagine the amount of information all the time. It's inspiration on tap. It's like I have an endless keg. It's like if you could hook up a tap to the Pacific Ocean of inspiration. That's exactly what it is. So as a result of that, it's all of your skills and passions and abilities mixed with ours, and then that's the inspiration comes at all hours of the day and night. So you do it through building these community crews. You build it through support, not just with money, but your time and expertise. I mean, that's what's so inspiring. I mean, there are people on this team, particularly people that have been here since the beginning, this incredible team that Kim has amassed. I've never seen anything work like it in my life. And Kim and I have rubbed elbows with a lot of really cool people, but when you get to the big places in Washington, D.C. and a lot of these places, they've never seen anything work like ISF. Not with a young organization like this that is not heavily funded by big corporations or a huge, fund. No one's ever seen anything like it. So that's the inspiration. And please don't ever stop doing that, because we need it. Without it, ISF goes bye-bye.
It's the truth. It's not even a joke. It's the truth.
I'm a little nervous when I say that.
You shouldn't say it. Don't put it out there.
Keep it coming.
So next question is from Amber, and you kind of touched a little bit of I guess how I would think that you're going to probably suggest answering this on the last one with community crews, but she asks, any advice on how to bring small communities together to help the environment?
Well, Amber, I mean, Kim, I think you could agree with me. It's one of the, to think globally, you have to act locally, right? Mm-hmm. And I think it's one of the biggest things, Amber, one of the craziest things, that we think, oh, I live in a small town, I don't have any power, I can't, I hear this from young people all the time. Well, if every small city, every small town recycled, if every small town started going greener with their power grid infrastructure, if every small town, do you see what I mean? If every small town started only buying local food, you start amassing, it's like little bitty victories all over the country and all over the world. Small towns make up the world. I was in Austria 3 years ago, little tiny beautiful mountain town. And I was with family. My surrogate parents are from there. And I'm riding on this bike, and in the middle of nowhere in the mountains, in this little bitty town, excuse me, there's this recycling center that's basically just a kind of big metal building with some concrete, but with these huge containers with such specificity. And one of them is televisions, and there's TVs and computer monitors and keyboards and all of these things that you don't realize people just throw out. And the amount of waste that's created, these people are taking all this stuff, and it gets reused. It gets sent to the right channels, to the right companies that take care of them, and that stuff gets reused. I was blown away. At that point, I was so blown away by their tenacity and their commitment to that environment and what those young people see. So I guess I would just love to expound upon that and say, as a small town or as a citizen in a community, you have every single bit of power and every single option to make those things happen. And we, as ISF, want to develop the ability to do that. Kim, what are you going to say?
Well, I just want to add that it's difficult when you care very much about something and you just don't know where to start, and you don't want to do it alone, and you can't do it alone. You need to do it with your community. And I think one of the suggestions that I would have would be to celebrate, and to celebrate something in the community. And while you're celebrating, if you've created an event that's around a celebration of some sorts, you can start talking to people about the things that matter to you and identifying the things that matter to them, and then you start an on-ground local sort of network that you can take those first steps with when you're looking at trying to create projects of change, or even just generating ideas. But I think the best way to get people together is through celebrating, and we don't do it enough, and we don't connect change making and serious issues with having fun and laughing and having food and celebrating. So I think that would be my #1 suggestion. And of course, always starting a crew and linking your network out that way.
So you mean specifically, really quickly, Kim, because I think I want to just touch upon that. So you mean celebrating as in literally having a public soiree and bringing officials and companies?
Yeah. It may not even need to be that big. It could start off with just your friends. Have your friends over for dinner and find out what matters to them, and then find a way to cohesively bond on the things that matter to you. And now all of a sudden, if you've invited 12 people over and 5 really only have something that they care enough about, you've got 5 people who you can begin this with and
Right.
move forward with skill sets and different diversity of thought and whatnot.
And then you
That's what
take
I was
those
suggesting.
action items and then you go out and then they meet 5 other
Yeah.
people. And, okay, yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of,
I mean, however, which way you want the cookie to crumble or the house to be built doesn't matter. But I think that starting off with at least connecting with 5 of your friends and having dinner conversation and really talking about what matters.
that's pretty awesome.
So I'm going to move on to the next question. This question's from Wendy, and Wendy was actually one of our winners in Omaze, which is awesome.
Yeah.
We can't
Wendy
thank you
is
guys enough for the
awesome.
support.
Wendy, thank you.
Could you please tell us more about the program for bullies and their victims, which is planned to be a part of the animal sanctuary?
Well, yes, actually. You know, I think we've touched upon this many times, and I think one interesting thought is, and this is just only my opinion and the opinion of I think a couple of us, is that we've all seen social media grow at such an expedient manner. I mean, I remember joining Twitter in 2009, in the middle, or sorry, the end of 2009. And I had never seen anything like it before. But I also didn't realize, and now I really see it, the amount of bullying that happens as this, you know, there used to be the old term, the corporate veil, how companies act behind a corporate veil. They're impenetrable. You can't pierce it. We now have taken that using technology. We hide behind our handle or our screens and the fact that no one can see us or touch us. And it's really now having profound physical effects on society. And I always said, it just came to me and I said, wait, I don't think that we can, watching young people who have been affected by this, it's really debilitating. I don't think we can proceed and grow as a society if young people are not getting educated or are taking their own lives or afraid to do anything because of this type of bullying. We don't know who those kids are. The victims, that kid could be the next, that little girl who, you know, unfortunately took her own life because she thought that she was overweight because people just bludgeoned her with this. We don't know who that kid could have been. That kid could have changed the world. And so we don't need that in society. But one thing we do you have to look at it as a real problem, as a systemic problem. So you want to get in from you want to find different access points to figure it out, right? So if you could, and interestingly enough, a lot of young people that we've found that have behavioral issues that are actually imposing their will on people in a bullying way actually possess a lot of really great qualities, a lot of leadership qualities. They have strong personalities. It's just that energy is misguided. It's misdirected. So what we want to do is, and what we plan to do, particularly with U-Factor and with this sanctuary, is to take those young people and use animals and re-guide, redirect that energy. Because I think once the bully sees the bullied, these animals that have been abandoned and beaten and, you know, treated very poorly, as these bullies have done to other people, they will actually see. Because compassion, you can't teach it, right? You have to show it. But we think, and we've seen it happen, it works all over. It works in prisons, it works all over the world, is allowing these people who have bully tendencies re-guide and redirect that energy by using animals in education. And it's the coolest thing and probably what I'm most excited about, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I obviously agree with you. But I just wanted to add that I've been thinking a lot over the last 6 weeks about this social beast that we have out there that we utilize to do many great things. And it's interesting to me that, you know, when you're a kid, the most important thing that's in your life is socializing. You socialize at school, you'll get report cards sent home that will say needs to stop socializing and focus on their studies. socializing is a part of human development. When we're born, we come out as an infant and we spend 18 years with our parents learning how to be a human. We learn how to be a human through socializing, even if it's with our parents or if it's our friends or our teachers. That whole social sphere is so paramount to the success of the human race, yet in school systems, we continuously only focus on academia and intellect. And it proves to me that since we have this social beast and the demand, and everybody is constantly, connected to that social beast, that we are still absolutely desperate to be social creatures. And I think that through the programming at the Epicentarium, that focusing on that shift to social and develop emotional capacities and learn how to communicate and learn how to perceive people's feelings and really get deeper into the concept of what does socializing mean and how does it impact me and how can I improve my own experience on this planet. So I don't know why I decided to run off with that tangent, but I guess it's because I've been spending so much time thinking about how desperate we are to be social again, but we just don't know how to do it because we've never been taught, which is sad.
Yeah. Hey, can I just add? This is such a obviously this question means a lot to us. I just want to add one more thing, and forgive me if this sounds a little brash, but so my nephew, we had my niece and my nephew at an elementary school in Louisiana, where I grew up in Mandeville. We we pulled them out of this school. I walked into the school, and you check in, and I'm taking my little babies, and they were walking down a hall, and it was the craziest thing. I'd never seen like it. There was on the right side of the hall, there was a red line. On the left side of the hall, there was an orange line. And the kids had to walk on that line through the hall like little soldiers. And I understand it's about efficiency, but I just realized, wait, these little social creatures never have the chance to bump into each other or learn how to navigate a crowd or, oh, hey, Johnny's over there, let me get to him, or who are you? You're cool. Oh, great backpack. They don't have that ability. So now I had this crazy realization when I was there. I remember talking to Kim immediately. Now we have this thing, but we're not really socializing. It's not true socializing. You're not bumping into each other. You can't smell someone's perfume or lack thereof. You're sneaky little kids. You don't get to see what kind of backpack they have, or maybe they have cool handwriting. Kids are not getting that. And I really don't understand that level of education where you're actually making kids walk like soldiers through a hall. And I pray that doesn't continue, but we're now hiding behind these things, and I really can't wait at this Epicentarium where we actually get to watch young people socialize in a way the way they were meant to socialize, but in such a cool, organic, elevated way.
I'm going to throw in more at you there. Obviously, we really do care about this because my heart rate is up. I don't want us to just stop at socializing in person. Technology is here to stay. We've created it for a very profound reason. So I hope, part of the focus of what we're looking at doing is adding to more programming for U-Factor, where that sort of helps develop socializing skills in an online sphere. And it comes down to talking about things that matter and identifying things that matter to other people and learning how to explore that and have an actual conversation in social media as opposed to just posting your bloody opinions. We should stop talking about this because you and I could talk for 12 hours. I'm going to go on to the next one, and this is from Luke.
Thank you,
he says, I'm 10, and yep, I'm a boy, or a young man, as I call myself. I noticed that there isn't a lot of boys or men involved with ISF. I like girls and all, but ISF needs more guys, don't you think? I have ideas, but what are some of your ideas to get more boys and men involved with ISF?
That's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool question. It's actually not even a question. That's more of a directive, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool, young man. I agree. Listen, you know, one thing when you look at it in a demographic, you know, yes, ISF is predominantly ladies. And by the way, thank goodness. You know why? Little man, and I'll say this, and it's actually meant to make us want to do better. Chicks are more on top of it than we are, to be honest with you. They just are. I've never seen anything like it. And as a guy, I can actively, honestly, and openly say, I admit that. Women are just more on top of it. So what does that mean? Yes, I agree. I think it would be cool to have some guys in there. Most women that are involved with ISF, ladies, girls, all have boyfriends, brothers, cousins, husbands, fiancés, dads. I would encourage, it's a cool thing. I recognize this. I remember when Vampire Diaries came out, that I had parents coming up to me saying, it's the craziest thing. I haven't been able to talk to my kid in years. And we sit every Thursday night. They sit with their hot chocolate, and I sit with my wine, and we sit there and we bond. And I realized that it had closed this parent loophole, this disconnect in connection between parents. And I thought, how profound is that, man? Entertainment is doing that. This silly little vampire teen soap opera is getting young people and parents to sit together. But I also had dads coming up to me saying, man, I've never at times it's a little uncomfortable when the kids are making out on screen and all that stuff, but he said, I've never hung with my daughter this much. And countless dads saying, thank you. Hey, how do I get involved with what she's doing? I would love that ISF and the functionality of it and the passion that women have driven into ISF, they would also bring in their guys. Because guys have so much fun doing these things. And trust me, we're going to need help. We're going to need some muscles to build these things.
Yeah, I just want to throw in a few things.
I was just going to say, guys and gals alone, don't be afraid to tell your guys, hey, get involved with me. This stuff's fun. And guys, don't be afraid to say, hey, I want in. I want to help. I want to hang. It's pretty cool. You'll be happy you did. Sorry, go ahead, Kim.
No, I was just really sort of thinking specifically at or to Luke. You're 10 years old, and right now you're surrounded by dudes who have a whole bunch of different interests. It could be skateboarding, it could be gaming, it could be whatever it is. And I think if you personally want to take this on and bring in more dudes, then I would start very similarly to the way I was explaining, I think it was to Amber. Yeah, Amber. And identify a bunch of things your dude friends like to do. So let's just take skateboarding, for example, and rope them into a moment where you get to go and hang skateboarding, and then pitch the idea of creating some sort of a project or an event that enables you guys to either raise funds or raise awareness or whatever your outcome may be through skateboarding. So find ways to connect with your friends on a level of interest and start the dialogue there and allow them to lead too.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
So Brooke asked, my question is for Kim and Ian. I just wanted to know which project they are most excited about and what makes them so inspired to do the great things they do every day.
Wow, that's a real simple question. Thanks, Brooke. I mean, what's there not to be excited about? I mean, wow. Now my head is like, I'm a little stumped because okay, two of the biggest things. ISF, and people say, well, what is that you do? And I always say, okay, well, this is going to, at first glance, everything, it seems very, very broad spectrum. I always kind of make the joke that we're like broad spectrum sunblock, right? We're blocking out all the different rays, but we have one function, and that's to protect, right? because it's conservation, habitat, and species, but then youth development, education, but also animals, right? So you have this huge kind of broad spectrum, but it's all so compartmentalized and so specific in their actions. For us, right now, U Factor is the coolest thing right now because the idea that we can literally empower and educate this whole generation of youngins coming into the fold. You know, if you go back and you watch that U Factor trailer, it blows your mind watching these little guys realize the power that's in here and in here. And that as a network, the power is exponentially more, it's just huge. Having U Factor grow on this land, you know, obviously the sanctuary and U Factor right now, because knowing that we can create a home, you know, everybody wants a home, and to know that we have a home base that we can build on, that is the most exciting. Again, because it's all encompassing. It's a space where all the interests of ISF and its passions and its people, which ISF is you guys, has a place to develop and breathe and grow organically in the most innovative way. That in and of itself is the most exciting thing ever.
I agree with you on all points.
Yay.
All points. Shocking. I have a question for you, and I'm very interested to hear your response on this one because I hope you read my email yesterday because it touches on this topic. So I'm really going to be watching your response. Alondra asks, what do you think about feminism? A search for equality or another form of inequality?
Well, I will tell you this. Hold on one sec. I'm going to look at my notes. Well, I will say this. You know, that first and foremost, as a guy, you know, it's so funny. That word, feminism, to men have such a different, and I'll be honest with you, because I've had this conversation 800 times with so many women, but I guess men have we have such a different understanding of feminism, and I think rather than siding with one side, it's about finding I guess it's about getting away from the inequality component and finding the strengths. What does it mean to you? Because to be honest with you, in the male world, the word feminism actually has a negative connotation, but it's not. It's not at all, not even a little bit. But so I think what happens is we steer down the road of inequality as opposed to equity. And I want to actually research this even a little more on my own and have conversations with women that I know and trust and love and respect their opinions, and particularly ones that are significantly older than me, because it is something. I had this conversation with some guys once on a plane, and there was this woman. She was talking about how she was a feminist. She was such a feminist, and I remember watching the energy between all these men. We were all hanging out, and then she got into this whole feminism thing, and the energy got very stale and cold. She put up a wall immediately, and I thought, whoa, that was unnecessary.
Yeah.
We were all just hanging out, and we're at 30,000 feet going almost like zero point 0.8 Mach, and everyone's happy, and wait, why did this go so stale and cold? And then I remember researching the true definition of feminism. I would just say, I don't think that it's picking or choosing sides. I think it's about finding equity, not inequality. You know what I mean?
I couldn't agree more, because my own connotations with the term feminism draws up various images and meanings, and it's not even all of it is not even my own concepts of it. It's what I learned from my mom. It's what I learned from books in the past. So when you were saying that you want to talk to women who are significantly older than you, I challenge you to talk to young girls who are significantly younger than you, because their
Yeah, I would
perception
love
of
to.
feminism between the two parallels, you can imagine what you would see there. I think that there are a lot of amazing men out there, and I feel uncomfortable when I say I'm a feminist. So I would like to explore that more too, and I think it'd be a
I
really
really,
interesting thing to do with our supporters.
yeah, I think it would be, because I think it's, if we can somehow bridge, I think if we can somehow build a bridge across the vast ocean of what we consider feminism to be, because, look, it's so funny, like, I've talked to men, like scholars and huge politicians and world leaders, and, they all have this common, you know, the ones that are really smart know that women are the answer. The world changes with empowered, educated, strong women. We know this as a statistical fact, right? An educated, empowered woman in a household doubles the GDP of that household by double. So think about that. In a small village, the village, productivity and GDP doubles. Then the town, then the province, then the state, then the continent, then the world, ultimately, right? So men tend to think that men rule the world for the dumbest reason. It's the funniest thing when I actually ask guys, men, like guys that have PhDs in these things, and then they start talking about the anatomical components, and I say, wow, you guys could not be more wrong if you tried. And that's, I think, where these words like feminism come into play. When in all actuality, it's just humanism. We're just human.
Word.
So I would love to try and figure out how to build a bridge across that vast ocean of difference between what men and women actually view as feminism, its practice, and how to move it into the future in the most positive way.
Awesome. I'll put that on my to-do list.
Does that to-do list actually go from where you are out into the garage and down the street?
Pretty much.
Right.
So Leanne asked, since starting up ISF, have you found that people respect you more, not only as an actor, but as a hero to animals and people and the environment?
Yeah, to be honest with you, Leanne, only because I think, by the way, and I'm grateful for it, but it's also, there's reciprocity. I mean, it's reciprocal. I feel the same way about people that are trying to do this as well. I think it's just because, look, I'm not judging anyone. I think life is hard. We work very hard, all of us in our lives. And I think the only reason why I answer yes to that question is because, and I'm grateful for that respect, and I'm grateful for the energy that people give me, because I think they realize that it is you have to tirelessly do this. This isn't something you dabble in on weekends. You don't, as Tim or Amaya or anyone on this call or that make up ISF, or any of you as parents or students or professionals, you don't just dabble in starting an organization like this on the weekends. It consumes your life, and it's a lifestyle. It's not even a lifestyle choice. It is a life choice.
Yeah.
It's a path. It's the same as like getting married or going to college. I mean, you literally make a choice and you do it. I think the only reason why I would say yes, why I'm so grateful that people do have that respect, is because they recognize that they don't maybe have the time, energy, power, or even desire to do it. And so in some weird sense, they thank me for doing what they can't or don't want to do.
Right.
And I think some of the thanks also comes from, the respect also comes from inspiration. Hey, thank you for inspiring me. Thank you for not sleeping at night so that we can have this. And thank you for inspiring me to want to go do this. Now I'm going to go do something as well. And it's a really cool relationship. to have. Um,
Um,
sorry.
I'm getting pushy now because we need to get to more questions. So
Okay, sorry. Go.
you can be
I just love
totally.
questions. You guys are
I know
amazing.
it's
I don't really
it's
get to hang out
hard.
like this very much.
So
So
Linda asks, and I'm so totally probably going to interrupt you. I'm just warning you because
shocking.
this is important to me. She says, after raising my family, I'm searching for a new role, a new passion, but I'm finding it elusive, finding what's right for me. What's the moment or event which revealed your passion to you, and when did you know what you wanted your life's focus to be?
Wow. That raises so much emotion in me, I could literally start crying. Um, well, I think those moments you realize, or one of them was when I got off of the plane and I got to Grand Isle, Louisiana in when was it? June or May 2010, and I saw oil everywhere. I saw oil all over the beach. I saw these giant, beautiful pelicans covered in oil. I saw an alligator covered in oil. I mean, I saw so much stuff. I could smell it. I felt the pulse of the place that I grew up in deadening, quieting, dying. And not only did my heart sink, but I felt a whole rush of emotions I had never understood before. I felt anger. I felt helplessness. I felt emotions that were probably something in the realm of like losing a family member or worse. And that's when I realized this can never happen again. And what the hell am I going to do about it? And it all started. Then Larry King happened, and then I met Kim. Well, I met Deepak, and she called Deepak. Said, give this guy my number now, because she was watching us live on television. And that one moment changed the entire course of my life by my own fear and anger and helplessness and inspiration and energy fueled her and everyone else who was there. And then we started this organization. And I'll tell you, they come in weird waves. When Kim and Jessica first said to me, when we were doing our first fundraiser, we were trying to come up with concepts, and they called me one day, and they were so excited. They were like 12-year-old girls. It was the cutest thing. And I said, they said, we've got it. We figured it out. And I said, yeah, okay, what? What's going to be our first fundraiser? And they said, it's going to be a burlesque show. And I thought, you guys are messing with me. And they said, no. And I went, what are you talking about? There's most of the people in ISF are like 13. They go, exactly. And I thought, okay, guys, you have to explain this because this is weird. I'm getting creeped out. And they said, no, it's about redefining what's sexy. It's about making conservation and education cool. It's about finding what's sexy to you and beautiful. It doesn't necessarily, it's not your waist size. It's what you do. It's your passion, your level of energy. And when I realized, and I was sitting there and I torn my ACL. My left ACL was 3/4 tear. And I didn't want to take any pain medication because I wanted to be like aware and coherent. I'm sitting on this stage, and we had rented out the biggest club in Atlanta, and I'm sitting there with like 1,500 women in like burlesque attire, coming out of like coming down ropes out of the ceiling, and I realized, whoa, this is one of the most powerful rooms I've ever been in, and this is the future. This is how. Look at all these people talking to each other, being so impassioned with what one another is saying. And I realized, wow, this is the path. This is exactly what it's about. They were right. Empowering people and making real, bold, global change. You have to make it not even enticing. You have to make it organic. You have to make it cool. You have to make it sexy. You have to do all the things that you do from the cars you drive to the shirts you wear to the houses you live in.
Mm-hmm.
That in and of itself, that oil spill, that pushed me so
So
hard.
tragedy.
Tragedy.
For you,
And
it
the
was
thing is,
tragedy.
tragedy. And I think it happens for most people with tragedy. But here's the thing. How about letting these tragedies fuel our fire and create these amazing things? Let's start taking those tragedies, just like we're doing now, and turning them into victories
Right.
that the world wins. And I learned a very interesting thing from a very dear friend of ours in Washington, D.C., who is also our political strategist. She said, it's funny, you have to be very careful because, I come in guns blazing, I just want to change everything now. And she said, whoa, 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 listen, I get it, I'm with you 1,000%. But think about this. Start building victories that the world wins. You want to fight big, you want to fight battles that are small enough to win, but big enough to matter. And eventually the battles get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, but you empower people with victories. And that's what ISF is doing all over the world. Coming together in community crews and winning victories,
Right.
and piling them on top of each other.
Right. So I need to move on to the next question. And again, I'm going to get pushier and pushier as we go. But I just want to say, Linda, that if you're looking for that moment of identification of what you're passionate about and what your life's focus could be, because I really hope that it's ever evolving and that focus changes repeatedly throughout your life so that you can experience as much as possible while you're here. But if you're really looking, you're searching for that, the best place to start is to really focus in on what matters to you. Because if you focus on what matters to you, you will get very clear, concise answers, and they won't be in the form of thoughts. They won't be intellectual ideas. They will be feelings. And when that feeling overwhelms you, you know you're on the right course, and just put one foot in front of the other and let that part of you lead the way.
Yeah, what she said.
Vanessa asks, can there be an ISF speaker series? And I'm just going to add, because you don't like talking at all.
I hate talking. No, everyone else always tell me to shut up, actually. Can there be an ISF speaker series?
Yeah, we've talked about it. We've talked about something similar with TED Talks to do a speaker series with conferences. So it's definitely, it's in our noodle, but
it's in our sphere.
It's in our list that goes out to the garage.
Yeah. No, I think there's so much value in that. I mean, look, I have this overwhelming, I get so excited to think about, again, going back to this epicenterium. You know what I can't wait to see? I can't wait to see, mixing all these people. We keep talking about, creating these sort of really cool TP structures and having these amazing think tanks. But what I can't wait to see is having incredible groups of people there, whether they're CEOs or members of Congress or educators, but watching 15-year-old kids up on a stage or standing in a huge circle speaking about something that they've prepared that they're passionate about and giving them that forum. That kind of stuff makes me so ecstatic. I mean, being able to go to different towns and cities and places and not just listen to a bunch of adults babble and but listen to them.
Mm-hmm.
How cool is it, man? Trust me. One of the craziest things that'll give you chills is to watch a 13-year-old, oh God, what's her name? The 13-year-old that makes she's 14 now, 15 now, that makes the jewelry in Atlanta. She's got the cool, crazy hair.
Maya.
Watching this 13-year-old girl on a stage talk about how she has this jewelry company and she sells it and uses money to do all these really cool things in the community. Listening to this 13-year-old girl talk about this just baller stuff that you would think that it was like a 40-year-old CEO or something.
For sure.
Makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up because you just realize, whoa.
It'd be a good opportunity to give them an opportunity to experience that entire sphere.
Yeah.
So Alicia asks, I'm passionate about ending factory farming because factory farming is the #1 cause of animal cruelty, also environmental issues.
Yeah, huge.
In addition, these farms are polluting our land, water, and air, creating a myriad of other health hazards. My question to you is this: will you please help end this nightmare?
Listen, guys, and I know Kim and I have spoken about this a lot. It is a huge problem, but so it's a huge problem. So here's the thing, right? In order to end this, there are a number of things that have to happen. We have to either A, stop eating meat completely, or we have to put animals back onto open range farms, which now there's just the most massive amount of them. Listen, this is a huge, huge, huge conversation. And God, who was I having this conversation with? Ugh, I'm such a space cadet right now. It was someone, he was like Paul Allen or someone, some incredible brain. It's a big problem. Environmental degradation, here in California even too. These huge factory farms, say beef farms, right? Cows are vilified in this country. Kim and I were in Africa shooting this documentary on Alan Savory, and I literally saw with my own eyes, I know this sounds crazy, I literally saw with my own eyes how cows can literally help slow climate change. I'm not even kidding you. I saw it with my own eyes. I was standing in it. But in this country, they're vilified. Why? They're ruminants. They eat grass. They have 4 stomachs. They're not designed to eat grain. We overproduce grain. The government subsidizes it. We give it to all these cows and these feedlots, and they produce what? They fart a lot because their tummies aren't used to it, and they don't need it. It produces all this methane, or as Alan says, methane. And then you vilify these animals. That's a big problem. All the runoff from these farms go into our livers.
So this is a huge conversation for sure.
And this is a conversation we should just have
on its own.
On its own. And I would be more than happy to do that. Actually, that would be a great idea. If we took 10 or 12 topics and we actually had specific hangouts like this.
Like an ISF speaker series? So I think the answer is yes, that we can let Alicia know that our Creatures division is headed up by Jessica Olivier. I bet you anything, as she's sitting here watching this, she's probably got 10 million things she'd like to add to this conversation. It's very important to us. So keep looking out for progress and news reports on what it is that we're tackling in relation to that.
Sorry, guys, I'm eating in your ear.
No, that's okay. I like it when you eat. Vanessa and her mom, Mary, since everything is interconnected, where do we start? Each one is equally important: ocean, animals, air, land, etc.
Well, there's a real easy one. You know where I think you start? Right here. Because if we change this, what's in here and how it computes to our environment, everything else will change. I remember Deepak and Kim having these super long conversations with me initially when we first started ISF. And we went to do this forum that
Sages and Scientists. Yeah.
And that's what we spoke about. The whole thing was about the interconnectedness. And Deepak and Kim created this entire world for me to understand, because I always knew it was there. If you look at the world, and you look at a body, and you imagine that the trees of this world are our lungs. They clean air, and they produce oxygen for us. If you cut all those trees, guess what happens? You can't breathe. If you can picture the livers, lakes, and streams of the world are our cardiovascular system carrying all the vital nutrients to all the organs to keep the organism alive. If you pollute them and dam them and kill them, guess what? Those vital nutrients can't travel up and feed the organism. What happens? The organism starts to die. If we can, through reverence, gratitude, and compassion, start making more holistic choices in a holistic framework of life, everything will fall at the wayside. We'll cease to have those problems. You see what I mean? So yes, it is a massive undertaking, even the thought of it. And I think that's what happens in conservation. It's such a daunting task. People, we don't even know where to start.
I got to say something.
Go.
So to answer the question, where do we start? You start anywhere. Anywhere. You just start, and you put one foot in front of the other, and you just start. When you begin, everything will fall into place, and you'll be able to move from each step, but you just start anywhere. But just start. I'm being pushy again. This is a really big question too, so I know that we've had conversations about this specifically, and this might be a long answer, so I'm going to interrupt you in the same time. So China is one of the countries which has its highest level of environmental issues. Taiwan, on the other hand, a small country next to China, is one of the countries that promotes a greener living and has one of the top recycling systems in the world. Ian has been to China, and as many of us that have been there experienced the pollution and environmental damage firsthand. But based on his experience in China, what were the challenges that he faced while being there? And how can we help promote a greener living system using a small country such as Taiwan as an example to other countries?
Great question. I'll fire right off into it. I spent a lot of time in China. I spent a lot of time in China over the years, and I will tell you that the growth patterns and the efficiency and things I've seen since 2006, since I first started going there until now, are extraordinary. However, using a country like Taiwan, who has gone the extra mile to ensure that these systems are in place, whether it be recycling, what have you, it does help clean the air. Taiwan also has the luxury of trade winds, but the thing is that the one biggest component in China that I see that I have the most difficulty with is by virtue of population density, that the overconsumption and the need for power is immense. It is absolutely immense. And by virtue of having to create that power, the amount of carbon going into the air is even more immense. You can't even imagine what it is. So, where does that leave us? Two things. Uses of resources. If you look at the amount of plastics and packaging and, you know, all those things in China, I think what's going to have to happen is getting away from the petroleum-based packaging stuff and start finding ways to start literally making things that are going to be biodegradable, so they can actually start composting a lot of those things, because the usage, just by virtue of population density, is going to continue. That trend is going to keep going up. So the idea, and I've talked to a lot of big Chinese officials about this, if sustainability is the status quo, if sustainability is about maintaining what's happening now, then we're done. We have to actually redefine sustainability. So it's the old Buckminster Fuller version or vision: do less with more. Right. And I think that's the Chinese biggest obstacle right now, but the biggest asset they have. The youth in China are not going to allow this to happen. They are going to innovate their way into the future. I know it, I see it, and we're all going to be a part of it. But utilizing Taiwan as a great example, absolutely. And actually, I'll be there in a couple months, and I will bring that up a lot.
Awesome. I just got someone online saying, this is from Ashley.
Hi,
and she
Ashley.
says, this ISF, it's not a question, but it's definitely worth sharing. She says, this ISF Hangout is something I needed. It's so empowering. It's bringing me to tears. Thank you for everything, Ian Somerhalder and Kim. Isn't that cute?
Anamaya and ISF.
Anamaya and ISF.
Rock, woman.
Really, really sweet.
I needed it too, so thank you for that.
So another one, very easy response to this. Any advice on how to start a project within your community? We kind of covered this with starting a crew, and the ideas that you had offered. I think it was Amber whose question we answered in relation to that. So starting projects, would you agree, start a crew? Start a crew.
I mean, there can't be too many of you guys. And no, but I'm serious. You know, we all have so many different interests. But again, if you think about it, we live on this big round sphere, this big orb, right? There is no away. You don't throw something away. It's staying on this planet. Unless you're shooting it to the sun with some like rocket propulsion we don't know about, it's not going anywhere. The treatment of animals in our environment as a result of, you know, them being pretty coexisting, the development of our education system, the development of our youth, all these things are one and the same. They all live on this little floating rock that's 3 rocks away from the sun. Start cruise. Start opening up those conversations. And just like Kim was saying, whether you're 10 or you're 100, have people over to your house. Talk to them about it. Find those, find those directives, get those action items, and then go out and find 5 more people. You'll start to find that so many people have so much compassion and drive for this, they just didn't know what to do with it. They didn't know that they had that extra bit of energy, or, you know, that extra $25 in their piggy bank. They say, you know what? Here, let's go do something with this. And I promise you, I swear to you, your life will become exponentially fuller, richer, deeper. Yeah, you might be a little more tired.
No, you'll be more enthralled. You'll be more enthralled.
You'll be more enthralled, but you'll never feel more at home on this planet once you start protecting it and conspiring and inspiring with others about it. I swear to you.
I'm moving on. Melissa asks, I've read every interview you've given about your passions and concerns.
Wow.
I actually didn't even wait. Just wait. I actually didn't even know you were an actor until I read Joey Parker's book. The way you chose to express yourself is simply phenomenal. You make people feel your words, or at least the feelings behind the words. So many people quote you from articles because you express yourself in such a human way. Where did you learn to answer these interview questions that you get posed with such intellect and such humanity? That might be the biggest compliment I think you might have ever received.
You know what? Why do or how do any of us answer anything ever? Passion. That's the one biggest thing that I think that we forget, is that authenticity. You know, this is the 12-second version. A very dear friend of mine, he's like a kid brother to me. He's 18. He's actually a lot bigger than I am. But he wanted to go out. He really likes this girl. He really likes this girl, and he wanted to take her out. And he said, what do I do? I said, dude, just be yourself. Because if you're not, and for some reason she likes you, who's she going to like? The person you think you want to be, or the person you are? And in that, being authentic, all of a sudden, when you ask him a question about something he's passionate about, he's a very smart guy. He's going into pre-med. You start talking to him about medicine or helping people, and all of a sudden, you start talking about girls, and he doesn't really know because he's just trying to figure it out. When you start talking to him about medicine or helping people, it flows like crazy. It just so happens that people are asking me questions about things that I'm passionate about. And so identifying those passions and having conversations with people who actually represent those passions is really where you're going to start finding out this shit stuff, just starts flowing out of your own mouth because it's coming from here, and there's a pairing that happens.
In that particular, in Joey Parker's book that was co-authored between you and Jess, and if you guys know, Jess is the director of Our Creatures. And if you haven't picked up his book and you haven't read that particular chapter, I highly suggest doing so. If you have any doubt of the amount of care and compassion Creatures Division has, just read that particular one. But you know, you touched on something that I think you, out of a lot of people, are really fortunate because you have relationships with people who you have bonds with, and you're able to connect and communicate and have conversations with people you respect and care about, And I think that that obviously must help evolve how rooted you feel to things, and also somewhat anchor, you know, the effortlessness of that to come out because it's coming from a seed of passion. Am I making any sense?
No, I'm yes, and I'm grateful for that statement.
Cool.
Again, it goes back to, by the way, surrounding yourself with like-minded people who are. I always love to be the dumbest person in the room. And I'm always learning. But when you start talking about, when you start identifying those things you're super passionate about, you start having those conversations, you will find that this stuff just spurts out of your mouth.
I agree. I'm trying to get through all of them. Here's a tough one, and it's asked to both of us. If Jess asks Ian and Kim if there was one environmental aid that could be implemented in every school around the country, what would you want it to be? I'm 1 year away from my master's in school counseling and hope to do some serious systemic change in the districts I work for. So one environmental aid that could be implemented in every school, what would it be?
If we could implement one thing, read it one more time just so I...
One environmental aid that could be implemented in every school around the country, what would you want it to be?
Environmental aid that could be implemented in every school in the country. Wow, there's so many. There are so many.
It's a tough one, but...
It's a tough one. I mean, because it's so, again, there's so many components to that. You know, schools are something that we're really wanting to hit very hard as far as...
We're working on water filling stations. That's one of the projects that... You're right, there's a lot of different avenues.
There's a lot of different avenues. You know, to be honest with you, let me just start here. Because, again, it all starts with here and here. Without the physical body and the health of it, you have nothing. So here's the 20-second version. You guys know that I was at a rally to try and stop hydraulic fracturing. Well, we are stopping this, even though they granted the permit. We're going to get them to stop it. They're trying to hydraulic fracture in my beautiful wetland town in Louisiana, right? We went to a rally to stop it. We were at a school campus right where the wellhead, they want to start drilling. And I went outside. It was freezing cold. I was so thirsty. I went outside because there was nothing to get, and I needed water. And I left my metal bottle in the car and outside on the car, and it literally had frozen. So I ran to the vending machine to get something. And I hate plastic bottles, but I need it. Do you know that I literally could not find a bottle of water? All I could find were diet drinks.
Oh my.
Diet. Because they didn't want sugar because it's high fructose corn syrup in the school. So what did they do? They decided to give all the kids diet drinks full of what?
Aspartame.
Aspartame causes brain atrophy.
Mm-hmm.
So basically these young developing kids, young people from 9th grade to 12th grade, so you figure 14 to 18, some of the most developmental stages of your life. These kids are poisoned with snack potato chips that have partially hydrogenated oils and stuff in them, and then diet drinks, diet sodas, diet vitamin waters, diet everything. And I thought, right. Oh man, this is it. This is the start of the end, where we're so concerned with high fructose corn syrup because it is crap. But now we're giving all these kids, why is that the case? How are we doing this to our kids? How do we expect our kids to function when, you know, our friends on the you know, we have very different political views when it comes to people with food items, and people on the right, you know, that are making laws say tomato paste is a vegetable. Give it to those kids. Let's fund this stuff. Come on, federal funding. Are you kidding me? Kids don't have vegetables in school. They have pizza that has dairy and all kinds of things.
You know, Ian, this is so foreign to me. I've had this conversation with Jess, actually, and she brought up all of those points in this particular conversation, and I'm in my head thinking...
Well, they don't do that to kids in Canada, I guarantee.
No, well, first of all, we kids go to school with a lunch we make them. So
Right.
I've never in my life heard of an elementary school serving elementary kids. It's so foreign.
Elementary, middle school, junior high, and high school.
No, just high
So,
school. We'd had a cafeteria in most schools, but not even all of them. So
so
foreign.
this is a big thing. So if you were to say what's one thing I would want to aid, particularly in America, if you're an American student, it's changing the diet of the American student. It's absolutely, we are shooting ourselves in the foot by poisoning our children if we expect them to learn and be able to run the country and run the world in a harmonious, compassionate, educated, healthy way. It's an
Right.
impossibility. That would be number
Copy
one.
you.
Change the food.
Got it.
Somebody help us do that.
So we're already way ahead, and I think that I'm going to ask you one last question, and then I know that a lot of you sent in questions for me, and I have a very long list, and I just want to say thanks for asking such difficult questions to answer. I really appreciate that.
My head is spinning.
I really had to think
great.
pretty hard, but we're not going to have time to get to me today, which is not an issue, because we can certainly, if anybody's interested, we can certainly set up a Google Hangout just with me. I know we won't have Ian's wonderful self, but I'm definitely open and available to discuss all of your amazing questions, which really have a lot of focus on youth and autism and special needs and environmental wormholes that I had to travel down just to think about how I would answer these questions. So I appreciate you guys asking them, but we're running out of time. And I'm going to close with probably one of my more favorite questions that came in, simply because it absolutely made me stop on my feet and try to figure out how I would answer this. So good luck to you. Sammy asks, what has been the most unexpected discovery you've made about yourself or others since starting ISF? The most unexpected discovery you've made about yourself or others since starting ISF?
That's actually a really great question. The most unexpected discovery. I could say, hands down, and something I see in myself and that I see in others. It's not that I have a lot of energy or I have a lot of compassion or passion for certain things. The one thing that I know that I realized and I see with people, whether it's Devin Haas, who started rallying in Washington when she was like 7 years old, I realized in the most profound way that I could make a difference. That one person could literally make a difference. It's the butterfly effect. A butterfly that flaps its wings in Argentina, I feel it. And I see that with everyone around me. And I didn't realize, you know, you always think it. You always think, I have to make a difference. I have to do something. I made a difference. And every single person that comes to me and touches me with something also makes a difference.
Right.
And I see 10-year-olds in Kenya or in Afghanistan or in Ohio making a difference. College students. It's one thing we didn't get a chance to talk about today. ISF College is our baby, and I think is one of the greatest pathways to the future is what we want to develop as ISF College, because some of the greatest minds in the world are running around our college campuses right now as we speak, making a difference. That was that profound thing that almost like brought me to tears and brought me to my knees when I realized, whoa, one person has the power to change a lot. And that's what I've learned watching people. What can make a difference whether I had a personal platform of fame behind me. No, I'm watching 10-year-olds in schools,
Right.
whether it's in Canada or in Ohio or in California or, you know, Compton.
Mm-hmm.
Compton, remember those kids at the Compton
Yeah.
High School?
Yeah.
Low income households with kids who want shit to change, and they're
Mm-hmm.
doing it.
I know.
The most profound thing ever. It's like that ma moment, you know what I
It's a
mean?
hard question to answer because I thought I had my answer initially, and then after the question followed me around, it kept changing. And I guess, I mean, the most unexpected thing for me when I walked through that question for a while was I'm still kind of astounded by how few people really know how powerful
They are.
they are, and that what was unexpected is that there are so many people out there walking around who don't know that. Um, and it's not like it's some magical thing that gets built. It's a part of who you are, and it's almost it was unexpected to realize that there are so many people who are out there who don't know who they are and don't know what matters to them and are desperately seeking it but just don't know how to start. That was the most unexpected, probably about 20 questions
Right?
in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that there are a few people who joined a little bit late, and I just think it might be a good idea before we sign off to, just in case they didn't get that first initial good news announcement, that maybe we could tell them all again what we just signed.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, guys, thank you so much for doing this. I mean, I just retweeted this thing. It's from Chris. Ah, I didn't even look at the name. That's awesome. Ian Goldenheart. That's sweet. But this message that says, Ian Summerall, this is beautiful. You're making me cry. The way we can connect from different parts of the world is the key for all changes. And I just retweeted that. I had to because it's crazy. You're right. I mean, I'm in California. You're on the east coast of Canada. Wait, where's Amaya?
East coast of the U.S., Virginia.
You're Virginia. That's right. And then there are people all over the world right now watching this. And that is the key. That is the key for us to be able to do this. By the way, thank you, Google, for creating this. But I just want to say, it's so badass. But I just want to say, if anyone got in late, that, you know, we have signed the papers on the farm. Yes. It's only been 18 months in the works, and you guys, through your support and energy and effort, have really empowered us and allowed us to be able to do this. But the idea is that, yes, as promised and as promoted, we will be moving forward, building a space. I love this word, an epicentarium, right? Where it's a living, breathing space for everything that ISF stands for and its supporters gets a chance to grow in the most organic way, the most innovative way. From everything from healthy agriculture to creatures to energy to youth education, youth development. Little
For
furry
sure.
guys.
Yeah.
All of it.
Along with that awesome, mushy, gushy, important, meaningful stuff, because that's the stuff that fuels me. I mean, I really like ideas and all, but without any of that, there's no point to pretty much anything. Just want to say that without you guys, we will not be able to erect an epicentarium, and without your continued skill sets and efforts, we will not be able to erect. We need you. We need your help. We need your ideas. We need your ideas on programming. We need your projects. We always appreciate when there's help with fundraising. We've got a big job ahead of us, and it's going to take a whole village to raise this epicentarium, a global village. And also, Ian doesn't have one on now, but
I know. I left my other darn T-shirt. They're so badass.
Yeah, they're really cool. Check out the Vanity Fair
The Vanity Fair.
new product line.
The Vanity Project.
Vanity Project. I'm thinking about reading magazines.
Yeah, no.
Um,
Go check out the Vanity Project. The new designs of the T-shirts. I'm such a bad president. Bad president.
yeah, but I know you love them because you really kind of lost it when you saw it. It's
Yeah,
probably
no,
one of our
the
more
design
favorite
is
designs.
incredible. I wore it to
Yeah.
work yesterday, day before yesterday. I wore it to the set of Vampire Diaries, and literally the whole crew was buying them. They're incredible.
Yeah, I love them. I actually said that they would kind of make a really cool tattoo.
I really would.
They really would. Okay, so we're going to go and let you get back to saving the planet.
Well, and I'm going to let you guys get back to saving the planet. Kim, Amaya, guys, thank you for doing this. Listen, all the donors, everyone who's on this and seeing this, we can't thank you enough. I'm not kidding you. We should start every morning like this, by the way.
It'd be cool.
Thank you, guys. We have a huge road ahead of us. We need your help, but it's going to be incredible. This model that we're building, this is the first of its kind, and it's the first of many. So let's do this together. And thank you for doing it with me.
Thanks, guys. I look
I love you
forward to
guys.
more of these. I'm going to hang up, so you're going to have to hang up too, dude.
Okay, fine.